Hello again, welcome back. Here we are to continue talking about our calculator, and we've created the user interface with SwiftUI. We've added some, business logic in this global state object here. And in the last video, we reviewed the internal, logic and flow of operations that are going to need to happen to get our calculator to calculate values, right? And I've kind of marked it out here in pseudocode to show what values need to happen, right? Or show the variables and their values. It's kind of like a truth table maybe to show us like what's going to happen inside the calculator when you tap certain keys, right? And the operations that are going to go on, right? Let's try and implement this now. So I'm going to go into my global state object here. So I'm in class global state, and I'm going to create a couple new variables. So I've got these variables that I need to use up here. I've got stored value, operation, and begin input. Display is a variable, but we've already created that. Okay, so let's do var stored value. And I'm going to make this a double, but it will be an optional. So I'll say double optional, and when the calculator initializes, stored value will be nil because there is no stored value. Next, we'll make an operation here, and operation is going to be a calculator key, and it's also going to be an optional, right? So here you can see that, sometimes it has a value of nil, so I'll set it to nil when we begin, right? So it's optional, and when it initializes, it will have a nil value, right? So we've got display, and now we're going to do begin input. So I'm going to say var begin input equals true. So when the calculator begins, it's ready to accept user input. And this is not an optional. It's either true, you're starting to input a new thing, or false, you're in the middle of inputting something. Okay? Great. So let's make a couple small changes. So currently the key pressed kind of looks for a 0. And if you have a 0 in the keyboard, like displayed on the calculator, then it lets you replace it with a key. This is really where we're beginning our input. So I'm going to change this to begin input. So if begin input is true, we're going to replace the displayed value with whatever value you typed on the key. If it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to say begin input equals false because you've just began your input. Okay, so that should work as it did before now, right? It should be the same, right? Now let's add in a case. I'll put the case, maybe I'll put it right here so we can kind of see our truth table at the top there. It's going to be kind of hard to show everything, but maybe I'll put it here. So I'll say case. And we're going to look at the operation keys, like the math operation. So I'll do plus, minus, multiply, and divide, colon. And then let's do a little bit of work here, right? So we'll put in some pseudocode, right? So we're going to ask the question, we're going to say like, hey, if the stored value is nil, then like if the stored value is nil, what do we want to do, right? So you've hit, like, it's kind of like we're right. What are we going to do here? It's like we're right in here. Actually, we're on this one. So you tap the plus sign. So what we want to do is we don't have any operation here, right? So we just want to take this value and store it, right? So why don't we do that? Why don't we say stored value equals double display, right? And then we probably need to set the display value equal to the stored value. Actually, we don't even need to do that. It's already there, so we'll skip that, right? So we did this, right? So we got our value stored there. Oh, we need to set the operation too. So let's do that. Let's say operation equals the key that you pressed. And so the key would be one of these right now, okay? So we've stored that. And then what's going to happen here? Oh, we need to set begin input to true. So let's do that. Let's say begin input equals true. Don't worry about this. This error is just saying I haven't done any code inside this case. It wants me to put something in there, but that'll go away when we add that, right? So that's pretty good. Now let's see. So we got stored input is true, right? And what else do we need to do here? Let's say, what if there was a case where, you know, stored value was not nil? So you had a value stored and you had input something, right? And you hit an operation. So what we want to do here, maybe we can just do this with an else like this, right? We want to calculate the value, right? So calculate's going to be a few steps, right? So this is like, you know, calculate value is going to be like, you know, convert display to a double and then add it with the stored value. So we're going to say, you know, it's kind of like stored value equals stored value, and then the operation, whatever that is, right? And the display value converted from a double, right? So calculate's going to do some stuff like this, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to set the operation equal to the key that you pressed, right? So because we don't want to set the key, we don't want to set the operation before we do the last operation, right? So now we're going to, you know, it's kind of like we're on this step right here. You tap the minus sign, but what we want to do is we want to use the plus sign first, take the value here, take the value here, add them up, you know, with this perform this operation. In this case is add, put the values, the new stored value here, and then take this value and store it here, right? And then we need to display the new stored value in display, okay? And then we'll set begin input to true. So what we'll do here is let's do display equals, maybe I think what would be good is we make a function for this, right? Because we kind of have a lot of stuff to do here. It might be awkward inside this if else, right? So maybe I'll tab that in to kind of show that it's going to go inside this function. So we're going to say display equals, we'll have to convert it from a string, you know, from our stored value, we'll convert it to a string. And then what we want to do is we want to begin input again. Something like that, right? So there's our pseudocode. So let's give it a try. Let's write this, right? So first of all, for our pseudocode, let's do it. Let's say, hey, if stored value equals nil, then stored value equals double from the display, okay? Next, operation equals the key that you pressed, and begin input should equal true, because we're going to start inputting a brand new value, okay? The next step is to calculate. So, oh yeah, we need an else here. So let's put an else in there. And so if stored value is not nil, you must have a value stored, right? So you hit an operation earlier and you've hit a new operation, so there must be a number in the display, and we want to perform an operation on that, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say calculate. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a function. I'll go all the way to the bottom here and make a function called calculate. And our calculate function will do all the work for us, right? So we can just call that here. Right, so we'll just calculate. And then we're going to do all of these things in calculate, right? We can actually just copy it. Let's just cut all that. So that's our stuff to do, right? So we'll just put this here. And let's see, what do we want to do here? So let's calculate our values. So in order to do the math, we need the two doubles, right? So what are we going to do? Let's say var a equals, actually let's make it a let. We're not going to change it. So let's say a equals stored value, but this is it's an optional. So let's use the nil coalescing operator to unwrap it, and then let's say let b equals a double from display, and then I'll use 0 if this is not available, right? So we'll get the string, we'll convert it to a double, and then let's do var answer equals, let's do a double and set it to 0, right? So we'll just calculate our answer here, okay? So now what are we going to do? Let's do a switch case, and we need to know what operation is currently running. So I'm going to look at operation here, and if operation is plus, then we're going to say answer equals a plus b. So there we've done our math, right? And I'm going to put a break after the default and then add a new case. So let's say if the case is minus, then we'll say answer equals a minus b. So a is the stored value, the number we previously input. B is the new number that should be on the display, right? And then we'll say case multiply of answer equals a times b, and then we'll do case divide colon answer equals a divided by b. Okay, and now at the end here we need to do this step here where we're going to move the answer into the stored value and display it as the display value. So let's do that. Let's say stored value equals the answer, and display equals string from the answer. Okay, so let's give that a try. I think that looks pretty good for right now. I might have missed something, but I think that's mostly it. So how did you do? How did my answer compare to yours, right? So I'm interested to hear about that. And again, you might come up with another answer and yours might work just as well or better. There's a lot of different ways to do this. This is the way that I chose to do it. And let's give it a try and see how it worked, right? So I'm going to go to the content view here and resume my calculator here, and let's type in some numbers. So what if I type in a 2 and a 1, and then I hit the plus, and then I want to type in 4. Oh, wait. It didn't get the begin input there, right? Let's double check, because I feel like it's not refreshing a lot of times. I'm going to close that and reopen it. So let's give it one more try here. I could have made a mistake too, so that's been known to happen, right? So I'm going to click resume, wait for my preview to start, and then I'm going to click on the live preview button and type in 2 and 1, and then hit plus, and then type in 4. Oh, that's working. And 3, and then I'm going to hit minus, and it says 62, 64. So that's correct. I did 21 and 43, right? And then I did minus, so let's do minus 5. Oops. Wait, so what do you think the problem is here? I think I missed something, right? Yes, it's still kind of working, right? But I have a couple problems. You can try and solve those. I'll leave it up to you. I think what I'm missing is begin input. So let's see. So if we did a calculate here, we should set begin input equal to true. Okay, so let's give that a try. I'm gonna close this again and reopen it just to make sure it refreshes. That's kind of annoying. There has to be a way around that. So let's give it one more try. So I'm going to go over here, click resume, and click the live preview, and I'll type in 2, 1 plus 4, 3 minus 5. Oh, now it's kind of working. Plus 1. Okay, so it's kind of working. Let's say, what if we did minus? Oops, I guess I got the plus. It did plus. So actually, there's probably another error in there. But let's say I divide by 2 plus. Yes. So wait, maybe my divide is not working. So this is pretty close. Why don't we hold on this because this is a long video, but this is pretty close. We've got some of the operations working. What if I clear this? Oh yeah, we might have to, if you clear, we might have to make sure that we set begin input to true again, right? So keep that in mind. Let's see, what if we do 4 divide by, oh, we still got a problem there. So we'll come back to a couple of these issues. Like I got a problem with divide and maybe with multiply, right? Yeah, I feel like when I'm doing divide and multiply, for some reason it's not setting the key, but the plus and minus seem to be working. So I'll leave that for you to take a look at, and then we'll try and solve those in the next video. Why don't you try and solve them on your own? I think we're pretty close, right? So there's something a little bit amiss here, right? Probably in this area, okay? So thanks for watching, and we'll come back to this in a bit.